Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sit and Knit for a Bit with Arne and Carlos.
And we are, as always, your hosts, Arne and Carlos. And Sit and Knit for a Bit is our weekly podcast where we talk about everything and nothing, and people get to sit and knit or crochet or embroider or whatever they want to do and listen to us. It's kind of like our cozy time together on Wednesdays, isn't it, Arne?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in Norway, or actually in all of Scandinavia, storytelling is very traditional. A lot of people sit and listen to stories, and I suppose many do sit and knit and listen to stories,
Probably.
don't they?
Probably.
Yeah.
It was more common before, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe people still do it.
I think...
If they're not in front of the TV
yeah,
or
that's...
YouTube. Yeah.
But it should be a tradition, I think. I think,
it was, when I grew up, it was kind of what we did every now and then, especially with my grandmother. I remember, like one winter, I was working at the farm, and in between feeding and milking the cows and the sheep and all the animals, I was knitting with my grandmother, just waiting for the next time to go to the barn.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also told a lot of stories. So that's also one of the reasons why I know a lot about the genealogy, because she was telling these stories while we were sitting in the kitchen and we were knitting.
Yeah, and your dad was a good storyteller.
He always told
stories. Arne's dad always told stories. I never met your great-grandfather, but I believe he was an excellent storyteller.
Storytelling.
Famous.
He always talked about different things. So, you pick up a lot of stuff when you have people in your family telling stories like that.
Yeah.
So, and also like when I was smaller and there were 4 generations in the house, all the women in the family, they were doing something with their hands. So my great-grandmother, she was crocheting a lot, and my grandmother and my mother, they were knitting. My father also did leather work, like he was sewing those things for the horses sometimes. So. And my great-grandfather, he told stories.
Yeah,
smoking the pipe and telling stories. There was like smoke all over the room.
Yeah, we had that in our family too. My great-grandfather was an artist and an architect, and he tells stories to my father and his 2 brothers, and I also grew up with grandparents telling stories. I guess it's a Scandinavian thing, and suppose it's because the winters are so dark and cold, so you want to light up some candles and make a little cozy time and talk to people, drink coffee.
It's probably the same all over the world if people of many generations live in the same house.
Yeah.
Which is maybe more normal in other places.
Nowadays.
Because in Norway it's not common anymore.
No, not anymore. In Sweden it's not common either.
No, it's the same. Yeah.
Anyway, today Sit and Knit for a Bit is going to have a little different format. Usually we talk about everything and anything, whatever comes to mind, and then we take it from there. We do our 15 minutes podcast.
Well, we try to keep it 15 minutes.
We try to keep it 15 minutes. It's not always we succeed. So if you're a newbie and you're wondering about those 15 minutes, well, it's our aim that we should do a 15-minute podcast every day or every week, and then we'll see, how long we actually talk.
Have you ever done 15 minutes?
I actually don't think so. No.
But we tried. That was the plan in the beginning when we did the quarantine podcast. But it's never 15 minutes.
No, well,
it's 15.
It's always 15 minutes.
It's always 15 minutes. With Arne and Carlos, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, today we have a theme. We're going to tell a story. Maybe we'll tell 2 stories, and you can sit and knit for a bit with us, or crochet, or embroider, or whatever you want to do, and listen to the story. And the background of this podcast, or the story, is that a few years ago, before we actually started doing our weekly podcast, because we only started this last year when the pandemic hit the world. So before that, we only did our Sunday tutorials, and sometimes we'd do the Q&As. And there was a question in every single Q&A that everybody wanted to know, and we never answered it because we thought it would be a very long story.
Very long story.
It's a long story, and we wouldn't be able to answer other questions, so we always skipped it.
And it's probably 2 different stories.
It's 2 different versions, and the question was, how did you 2 meet? So nowadays that we do our Sit and Knit for a Bit podcast, and you know more about us, we get more personal, we thought we'd tell you the story of how we met. And it's something we've been saving for a good cold autumn day like today. We can light up some candles. We can enjoy some hot beverages, and
we haven't lighted the candle.
No, we haven't.
It's time for lighting the candle.
Yeah.
Because this is very important.
Yeah. So the story of how we met goes back to the 90s. In
the end of the 90s.
Yeah, in the end of the 90s. And we'll see if we can... Shall you start and I can do this?
There's no matches there.
No matches. Oh boy. Okay, so no candle today.
No candles. Hide the candle.
Yeah.
So actually, at the time I was working as... No, it starts even before. Because we have a friend in common.
Don't
friend.
look at me.
Okay.
Okay, so
we have a
hang on. Let's start again.
A common friend?
Yeah, but let's start again, Arne.
Okay.
So we're gonna tell the story. There's two versions. Arne's gonna tell his version, and then I'm gonna tell my version. You don't have to look at me. I'm not gonna talk.
Okay.
And whatever you say,
happens.
and we'll see what happens.
Okay, so I was studying in Oslo, first philosophy, and I got a friend there, and she decided that when she was finished with the philosophy, she wanted to study social, is it called social anthropology in English?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also decided to do that. So we studied social anthropology for half a year, and then I got fed up by the social anthropology. Actually, I was fed up by reading all the books and listening to people. So I changed my career. I started in the fashion school, and I studied fashion for 3 years.
Sorry.
Be careful. And then, but she continued with her social anthropology, and then she went to China to study in China. And then she had you as a room. And no, you lived in the same dormitory, I think it's called. You were her neighbor. And then she wrote me a letter about this Brazilian Swedish guy who was dancing salsa all the time, and he was so nice, and she wrote to me that you have to meet. And then after I was finished as a student, I got a job as a teacher, and then one of my students also was a friend of my friend from social anthropology, and she knew you. So that you all three were friends, and I knew two of them. I didn't know you. No. And then she also talked about you. And then one day you arrived in Oslo, and I knew about it, but I didn't actually remember, or I didn't knew about it because I got a letter from the first friend, and she has actually written to me to tell me that you were coming to Norway. But I didn't have time to read the letter. I got the letter at evening. I was finished at the job, and I was going home for Christmas. So I didn't have time to read the letter, so I just left it and I forgot about it. And then weeks after we met, I found the letter. And then it says you were coming to Oslo.
Okay.
And then there was a party in the school, and that's where we met. It was the St. Catherine. Something you celebrate if you work with fashion and textiles and stuff. You have to celebrate St. Catherine. I think it's in October or November, I don't remember. And then I really don't remember when it was. And then you came dressed up like, I don't know, you look like someone who came from like the Book of Mormon.
No, it was a theme. It was like the Great Gatsby.
You didn't look like a Great Gatsby. But that was the theme. And then since then we moved together, and we moved out of Oslo.
Okay.
Is that the story?
Well,
what's your version?
It's kind of like a short version, actually. Is that it?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, but you can tell your story, and then we can continue.
And then we'll continue the story.
Then a lot of stuff happened.
Okay, so...
And then you came and you stayed with some friends in Oslo.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, you can come and stay with me.
Yeah, I think.
And I gave you my telephone number, which was the wrong number.
Yeah.
Because I never remember my telephone number. I still have to ask you every time if someone asks for my telephone number. I have to ask you because I can't remember it. I took a picture of it
Yeah.
I have a picture on my telephone, so I can remember if sometimes you have to buy stuff, and if you're like a member, they want your telephone number, and I never remember it.
That's true. Yeah. It's
So I
terrible.
always have problems with telephone numbers.
You have an issue remembering telephone numbers, but that's better than my problem. I have problem with directions. I can't read a map, and I always get lost. So I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's not one of us that always gets lost and never remembers the telephone number, because that would have been a pretty bad combination. But yeah, I always get lost and he never remembers his phone number.
That's scary. Because like sometimes if we're abroad and if I go by myself and I think, oh, maybe what if I lost my telephone number, because I only have your name. I can't remember your telephone number either.
No.
I can't remember numbers.
I remember both yours and mine.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to hear my story?
Yeah. Is it different from mine?
Well, it's got other information.
Okay.
Maybe I have more. I have more the ability to remember details. You kind of remember it, kind of.
It's blurry.
It's a little blurry. Yeah, your version is blurry
it was
now.
a party.
Yeah, that's true. It was a big party.
What can we do?
Okay, so in the 90s, I lived in China, and around 1998, early 1998, I met Elizabeth, who came to China to study. And as Arne mentioned, she was my neighbor.
I studied social anthropology and philosophy.
And I'd actually been away because I'd been traveling because of the Chinese New Year. So I wasn't in China at the time she arrived. I was traveling. And when I came back, there was a lot of new people there, and she was one of them. So she was a new person. And I used to hang out with a lot of Norwegians there. And they knew Elizabeth from before. So my friends who I hung out with, kind of, she knew them. So it was, we got quickly to know each other.
I didn't know that she knew all of them.
Well, yeah, she knew Ola and Anne-Kari and
did?
Paul.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
because they studied in the same class.
Because she
in Norway.
continued with the study.
Yeah.
I quit.
Exactly.
I didn't get to know anyone.
No.
Only her.
Well, but this is the Chinese, the people who study Chinese.
Well, that's the
Okay. Anyway, so
Sorry.
no worries.
No, your story.
So we hung out a lot, and actually we got to know each other very quickly, and I liked her a lot. And she kept telling me about this guy called Arne in Norway that I would probably get along with very well.
Just this fabulous guy.
Well, I'm telling the story now. I don't know if she said those words.
No, probably.
But she did say that we would get along, that you were very kind and very nice, and that we would get along famously. So she kept talking about this Arne guy over and over again. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll go to Norway someday and meet him. Who knows? And that went on for like a year. And then I finally finished my business in China and moved back to Europe. I came to Europe in the fall of 1999, back to Sweden. And after a few months in Sweden, I went to Norway to work. And I actually arrived in Norway just before the new year. And I didn't have a place to stay originally, so I stayed with my friend Ola, who was a good friend from China. He also moved back to Europe at the time.
The ball was in December then?
No, this is another party.
Oh, it's another party.
So there was a party, there was a New Year's party, and I was there with Ola and his girlfriend Anne-Kari. And Anne-Kari was also a friend of mine because she had studied. Actually, she I think she's born in Taiwan even. She speaks Chinese fluently, and she was in China for a while, and I met her through Ola, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And then Anne-Kari went back to Norway earlier than Ola did. Ola went back to Norway at the same time as I did. And then a few months later, I moved to Norway to work. And I met both Ola, because I stayed with him, and Anne-Kari, his girlfriend, my friend, as well. So at the time, Anne-Kari had abandoned the whole Chinese thing, and she was now studying fashion at one of the schools of design in Oslo called Esmond. And a few weeks after the ball, the New Year's party, there was the St. Catherine's ball Do you remember what date it took place?
No.
So when's your dad's birthday?
9th.
So it took place
on the 8th of... It was in January.
Yeah.
I thought the party was in the autumn. So
No.
it's in the winter. Okay.
Yeah,
The Santa.
Obviously, I remember more details than you do. So the party was on January 8th, and the theme was some kind of a 1920s Great Gatsby. I don't agree with Arne that I look like a Mormon. I was wearing a tuxedo with black tie, a black tuxedo with a white shirt, a black tie, and then I had all my hair combed back, like really, really slick. I thought I looked good.
You look good, but it wasn't the Great Gatsby.
Well, they wore tuxedos in the 20s, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Downton Abbey, they wear those kind of things. Anyway, so that's what I had, so that's what I decided to wear, because I didn't have anything else. If you're a woman, it's really easy to dress 1920s style if you want to dress like a flapper, I think they're called, with the feathers in the hair and the mini dresses. But if you're a guy, what are you going to wear? Tuxedo. I thought that was quite clever.
Or a flapper, you could also...
I could have gone as that, but I decided to go in a tuxedo.
Okay.
So I come to the party with Anne-Kari and Ola, and I don't know anybody there at all. And then Anne-Kari tells me that she wants to introduce me to her teacher, Arne. Still no bell rings.
No bells. This is something you say. You came because you knew I was there.
No, I didn't. No, I did not. Anyway, eventually she says, well, you know Arne. And I said, no, I don't know Arne. She said, well, Elizabeth, she talks about Arne all the time. Hasn't she told you about him? And I said, oh, that Arne. Yeah, I've heard about him. And then we were introduced. You were dressed up, you were wearing a boa, a feather.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
You were wearing a feathered boa, and you had a mustache that you had painted on with some kind of a makeup, some black eyeliner or something.
I think I used my boss. She had eyeliner in her purse.
Yeah.
My boss.
Yeah, and you had a mustache painted on.
I needed to have something extra.
Yeah, and you were wearing a boa, and you were wearing a pair of purple trousers, and you were wearing very pointed shoes. They were very long and very pointed. You look
That
really...
sounds like me.
Yeah, back in those
that
days.
purple, I still have that one.
Yeah?
I made it myself.
Yeah, you see? There you go.
It's very 90s,
Yeah.
shiny.
I
should put it on sit and knit, if I can still fit in it.
Well, I think you can.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, you were wearing... I don't remember if you were wearing the jacket, but you were wearing a pair of purple pants.
Oh, the jacket was probably gone long time ago, because I was probably on the dance floor at the moment we were.
Yeah, you were.
Because
were,
I got the moves.
Yeah, you got the moves. So anyway, that's we were introduced, and Arne gave me his phone number, and then we had a really fun night.
And the wrong number, of course.
Yeah, and do you remember where that number led?
No.
You don't remember?
Where did you call? Who did you call?
So
you went. It was the bus station.
Yeah, exactly.
But how could I know that number? Maybe it was close to my number.
Well, you gave me a telephone number, and the day after I wanted to call you, and I called that number, and it was the ticket counter at the Oslo bus terminal that replied or answered. But I knew you were a very nice and kind person, and I knew that you wouldn't have done that on purpose. So I actually called up. Actually, Elizabeth wasn't there.
No, she was.
She was still in China. So I called up, of course, Anne-Kari. And I said to Anne-Kari, if you wouldn't happen to have Arne's phone number. And she gave me your phone number.
Yeah.
And
the
I
rest
called
is
you.
history.
And the rest is history. And this is why we're sitting here today.
And then we had...
Wait. So anyway, I'm not finished yet.
Okay.
Long story. Mine is longer than yours. And then about a month after we met, I moved in to your apartment in Oslo, and we've been together ever since. And
over 20 years.
22, isn't it?
22.
22 years. Yeah. So we met in 1999.
And then at that time, you were offered a job in...
Well, that was a little later.
Later, you got offered a job in Beijing.
Yeah, if you remember. So I moved in, and I actually stayed in Oslo or in Norway. I worked in Norway for a while.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a year. And then I got offered.
Yeah, and I got offered a job in Jakarta, in Indonesia.
So Arne got offered a job in Indonesia, and I got a job offer in Beijing, in China. I got an offer with IKEA, actually. You got it at the school of design.
The design school.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to be a teacher in Jakarta.
In fashion design.
In fashion design.
So we were talking about this for a while, and I don't think we made a decision or many decisions, but you did do a decision because you came up to this area to visit a friend of yours for a weekend.
Yeah, and since I was going to Jakarta, I decided I didn't want to have that flat anymore in Oslo, because I had a flat in Oslo at the time, and I was looking at a house in the region where I come from. It was a very tiny log cabin, small one. I think like 2 rooms and no toilet, nothing. And that got so expensive. And then a friend told me about this railway station. So I came up here and I just decided, okay, it's a nice place to put all your stuff since I had to go abroad. And then I came back to Oslo and I told you about it. Well, it's been a nice weekend, and
exactly,
by the way, I bought the railway station.
Yeah, I asked you because I had to work that weekend, so I couldn't come. So Arne comes back on Sunday evening, and I asked him, "So how was your weekend? Did you have fun?" This is before we had cell phones. Neither of us had a cell phone in 1999, so we couldn't text each other like you do now. Like when I went to the hospital during COVID, we texted each other like 20 times a day.
We didn't have a phone in this house either.
No, but back in those days there was no texting, so you spent your weekend there. You came back, and I asked you, "Hi Arne, so how was your weekend?" And you said it was great. We had a nice time. We went skiing, and I did this, I did that. Oh, and by the way, I bought a train station.
And it looks so good. I told you about it.
Well, yeah.
With the snow and the sun and the magnificent house.
So originally I was a little shocked that you would make such a decision, like in the spur of the moment. But you sold it to me pretty good. I mean, it was spectacular, majestic.
Yeah, but nothing was like set at the time, because you were talking about going to China. I was talking about going to Jakarta. Yeah. I even had the what you call that? Contract?
Yeah, you had the contract.
I had the contract, and that summer it was just for me to sign it.
But you didn't.
By reading the contract, I freaked a little bit out, because there was a lot of things there, and we had just met. And
no, we hadn't just met. It's a year after we met.
It's a year after, so it felt a little bit strange that I should go to Jakarta and you should go to China. And then I had already sold the apartment. And
because he did that as well without telling me.
Yeah, and then this is what we had.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I was going back and forth with IKEA about working for them and working in China. And I actually didn't want to do it, but I kind of felt I needed a proper job to become a responsible adult or something like that. I don't know. I had this weird thing in my mind so at the time. So I kept going to these interviews, and I got the job. Arne sold the apartment without telling me, and suddenly we were living here because it was all.
I think I told you we had to get rid of the apartment.
Well, eventually, yeah. No. You told me, but you made the decision without asking me. But anyway, it was your apartment, so I guess, right? Anyway, so here we are. We have no apartment in Oslo. We've moved into this place, which at the time was not in the best of shape because it was all a renovation. You bought it as a renovation project, right?
Yeah.
So lots of work to do here, but you figured you're just going to dump all your stuff here and go to Jakarta. I was going to go to Beijing, and I felt that I had to get a proper job, I guess. And then in the end, we decided that because when we met, after we met, we've never been apart for anything except when I went to the hospital for those days, and maybe a couple of, I don't know.
Not much.
No. So we realized after thinking about it that I didn't want to go to Beijing, and Arne didn't want to go to Jakarta. We wanted to go somewhere where we could be together, because obviously that's what we wanted to do. And when you look at a map, You know, just because you're going to Asia doesn't mean that Beijing and Jakarta are just around the corner. I mean, to fly from Beijing to Jakarta is quite a long flight. So it's not, you're not in the same, you know, you're not in the vicinity when you're in Jakarta or in Beijing. So we realized that this was not going to work. We're not going to do this if we lived, you know, apart. So we kind of decided, okay, you're not going to go to Jakarta and I'm not going to go to Beijing. What are we going to do?
I think we weren't thinking much, actually. When I think about it now, it's like we just moved in and we didn't have anything, like no water, no toilet, nothing. It's like we were young, I think.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, it will fix itself one day.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. And then we.
Excuse me, that was
my
point of view. My point of view was, oh my God, I'm going to die here.
You didn't say anything. You didn't say much.
Yeah, I was freaking out because not only would it be a lot of work, but it would cost us a lot of money to get this place fixed.
And
now
it did.
Yeah, and yeah, it did. Yeah, and now we're living. Suddenly we're okay. So we're living in a place. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's on top of a mountain. 2 hours by car from Oslo, or 2.5 hours.
You see, in Norway, that is the middle of nowhere. But I saw this TV program. We saw it together about properties in America, and 2 hours outside of New York. It's still very. It's like the house is 2 hours.
Yeah, a lot of people actually.
Well, New York is so expensive.
Yeah.
But 2 hours out of Oslo is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because Norway is smaller.
Yeah, that's true.
So
anyway, we're now living in the middle of nowhere in a house that is in total need of a renovation. I mean, literally everything.
yeah, we did. Not now. Everything.
We're talking about the past. So the only thing that was new in the house, the only thing that was okay was the roof.
Yeah.
And that was it. So we're in the middle of nowhere in a house that is in total need of renovation. There is electricity, but there's no running water because that disappeared sometime in the 80s. There's outdoor toilets. We're unemployed because Arne quit his teaching job, and I said no to the job in Beijing. So we're both unemployed. We're poor. We're unemployed. The only money we have is what you sold your apartment for, but then we bought this house. You bought this house. So
but when then we were very, very
adventurous.
not responsible. What's that?
Irresponsible.
Irresponsible, because remember we took a bus to Paris and we spent a lot of money in Paris.
Oh, from your apartment sale. Yeah, that's true.
Bought a lot of nice stuff for a house that was falling down.
Yeah.
But it looked good in the house.
It did, yeah. And that was
some bad stuff.
Yeah, and that was my 30th birthday party, or my 30th birthday celebration. We went to Paris, so it's a really nice celebration. And that was in the year 2000. So a little more than a year and a half after we met, we went to Paris. Anyway, in Paris, we decided that we'll do the best we can, and we'll make a go of something here in the middle of nowhere.
Because then I worked in the kitchen. I started to work in the kitchen.
Yeah, you took a job in.
I took a job in a health place, or what you call it, where they have like, what you call that, vegetarian.
It's a resort.
They had vegetarian food, so I was working in the kitchen. You also started to work in the kitchen.
Yeah, but then I worked in the office.
And then you worked in the office, and when you worked in the office, I quit from that place and I started to work in the art school for kids.
As an art teacher.
Art teacher. So I was driving around in the county.
You hated that job.
I had 5 or 6 different schools.
And you hated that job.
It was so hard in the end because you knew, like, this was something that the kids should do after school. So most of the kids, they were so tired. Some of them had just been at home, had food, and then they were driven back to have that art class.
So the parents could stay and work longer, I guess.
So it was very demoralizing.
Yeah, demoralizing.
Demoralizing.
And not only that, but you were also annoyed because you had to drive from school to school.
Yeah, a lot of driving.
With all your art supplies in the car. I was okay because I was working at the office at the resort.
I did it for 2 years. 2 winters. I think I did it.
I think you did it for a year, Arne.
No, more.
No, you couldn't have.
No.
No.
Was it only 1 year? It felt like 2 or 5
Yeah.
or so.
Anyway, and at that time we were planning on starting our own business and kind of take control of our life, because actually we wanted to be together all the time. We wanted to live together, we wanted to work together, we wanted to do everything together. So the only solution we had was to create our own employment.
Yeah.
That was the only solution we had, unless of course we could work in the same working place. But we had more ambitions than working in an office or in a
And we
in a
didn't want to
kitchen.
have like 9 to 5 jobs, because we wanted to be our own boss.
Yeah.
And living up here is also hard to find work which
Unless you're a farmer or you work in a ski resort.
something you like based on your education or something, you can't find anything to do. So you better start your own business.
Yeah, and that's an issue because both of us have university degrees, so we didn't want to not kind of use them. We wanted, to do something that at least had something to do with what we studied. So yeah, we started our own business, and that took a long process. So we worked for 2 years. So from the year 2000 until the year 2002, we worked those years very, very hard. Lots of jobs. You had your art school job. I had the office job. We did other kinds of jobs. And just saving money all the time.
And we didn't spend much.
We didn't spend much, but we did spend a little money in the house. We spent money getting running water and building up the bathroom and the kitchen that we really needed to do. That came after a while because it was not easy. The first winter going to the outdoor toilet was not fun.
And picking up water from other places.
So by the end of November of 2020, by the end of November of 2020, we had running water, and then we did our jobs for 2 years, saved a lot of money, or as much as we could, and then there was a third friend of ours. Remember, she wanted in on the business that we were going to start because it was going to be a design
we decided
studio.
to do this fashion brand actually.
Yeah,
and first it was the 3 of us, but nothing kind of happened, and
it didn't work out with her living here, and so she moved out.
And then we just decided to do it
on our own.
And the first collection we made was a woman's collection. We got a lot of old jeans from your mother, denim, and we bought some gingham fabric from a grocery store where they had a sale, and that was the first collection we made.
Yeah, so we were working all of 2002. We were working on that collection, and we were doing it. So the first half of 2002, we were doing it on a budget. We were recycling denim. We were taking denim trousers and creating beautiful jackets and skirts, and we were doing gingham fabrics, as you said, from very cheap supermarket. And in August 2002, you can say that our company was founded. We registered our business. And we showed the collection.
And we got some foundings from the States.
Well, that came after.
That came after the... Yeah, that came after.
Because we were working like crazy, back and forth, trying to make enough money to launch the collection. And then we did.
And then we participated in a Norwegian fashion week. Was that the first collection?
Yeah, and what happened?
And that was very cool because... we were nobody actually.
Nobody
because
knew
we had
us.
never been there before. Even I guess some of the designers had actually been my students also. But we were we didn't have any brand. Or
Nobody knew who we
before.
were.
And then there was this weather lady. She was talking about the weather, and she was supposed to be the last girl on the catwalk show with another designer, which was a friend of her. But then she saw our collection.
Yeah, she was at the time, she was the most famous woman in Norway. She was a weather forecaster on the news, but there was something about her that made her extremely famous. Everybody wanted a piece of her. I mean, if you wanted a celebrity to give you a boost, you go to her, and she was there for this show.
And then she saw one of the dresses in our collection, and then she said she wanted to have that one as the final.
She insisted that was the dress she was going to wear.
So she
and
let her
nothing
friend
else.
down, and she wore our dress. And the next morning we were all over the news in Norway.
Yeah.
Every newspaper had a picture of her on the cover in our dress, and that started kind of this time where we were very
Well, you know
The
what?
media was very interested in everything we did.
You know what? It was interesting as well because here we are, two guys living in a train station on top of a mountain in Norway. Just that sentence alone made us different from all the other, the designer living in Oslo. I mean, if you're going to start a fashion brand, you start it in a city, right? And so
we were different.
In Norway, you have like 20 designers living in Oslo, and then you have the two guys living on top of the station or on top of a mountain in a train station that has been redesigned into a home. So obviously we were the ones with the story, and suddenly the media wanted. So we had all the journalists come up here and take photos.
So suddenly we were stuck here because you couldn't change that image in a way.
No.
And we still are. But that was interesting. It was an interesting time how we saw that you can't only have a collection, you also have to have a story to tell.
And then we realized that there was funding to have if you had a good idea, and if the government or the state believed in your idea. Because here in Norway, Norway has gained all its wealth from oil money. This is an oil country, but unlike many of the other countries, Norway doesn't spend the money that they accumulate in the fund. It kind of just grows and grows and grows, and this is for us, for the future, right? And also Norway wants to invest some money in finding alternative businesses that can be something sustainable after the oil runs out. So it was easy to go and apply for a grant from the government to, if you come up with a really good idea and you can kind of make a proposal, the government can give you money. And we had a great idea and we put it forward, and the government funded our company to begin with. And suddenly in 2003, so about a year, no, it was in the end of 2002, sorry, when we had been working like crazy for 2 years. In the end of 2002, we were able to quit our jobs and start working full-time in our own little business, which consisted of Arne and Carlos.
Yeah. And then we did 2 collections every year from that.
And showcased them all over.
Started just showing, in the first one we only showed in Oslo. The second one we showed in Copenhagen and in Oslo. And from there we went, like after a while we showed the collections in Paris and in New York on the trade shows, not on the catwalk.
No, never at the catwalk.
Never catwalk.
Well, runway, we did a few runways.
We did one...
But they were never international, like in Paris and in London. But we did little, because at the same time as the fashion weeks are there's these little trade shows for more independent designers, which is what we were. So we were like small independent fashion brands that stores could buy, a few pieces here and there. And it was a struggle, but we had all the funding that we needed, and eventually our company became more and more sustainable, and we grew more and more. So by 2008, we were designing and manufacturing knitwear, and it was sold in about 200 retailers in the world.
Because we started with a little bit of everything, and then we changed, and we only did knitwear. So
and at the most we were at around 200 retailers. Some of the very famous retailers, such as Liberty of London, sold our knitwear. Harvey Nichols,
Takashimaya, New York,
Barney's, all these beautiful little Italian.
Liberty in London.
Yeah.
Well, we were a lot of shops in Japan.
Loads of stores in Japan. We had an agent in Paris. We had an agent in Japan, and we had a few good years. The best years were actually the same years as the financial crisis. So 2008. 2009, and by 2010 we were getting a little bit worried about our situation, because we had all these amazing stores, but it was not possible to, they were struggling financially, the stores, so we were afraid.
Orders were like, there were smaller orders but more shops, so there were like a lot of small shops.
We were getting less orders, like quantities were lower, but the number of retailers were more, because a lot of people, I don't know, they got unemployed and they decided to open a store, I don't know. Anyway, there was a point when I said to Arne that if we continue now, one of these stores is one of the big customers like Liberty or Barney's is gonna go bankrupt or is not gonna pay, and then we're gonna go bust. So we decided to put everything hit the pause button, and that's when we did our book. 55 Christmas balls.
That was actually very hard. I remember we were in Paris and we decided to quit the fashion business. Remember? That was really hard.
It was a tough decision to make.
Because we felt that everything will like fall apart if we left the fashion world, because we were actually well known in the fashion world at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a very hard decision.
It was.
But it was good. Like after we decided to leave, it was really good actually.
Originally it was only, I think we left permanently, but originally it was just a break. We were just going to go away and see how it went. What we didn't want was to go bankrupt and then not be able to pay our manufacturers. They were all artisans in Peru, in different factories. We didn't want to screw them over. So we decided to cancel the orders before they even were manufactured, so that we didn't have any issues with payment.
In the end, like we had a lot of storage, and we made a pop-up shop in our house during Easter, because then there are people all over, there are cottages everywhere, and we sold almost everything.
Yeah.
And then we could live on until the book with the knitted balls came.
And then we did one book, and one book became 10 books. Yeah. So every year for a while, and they were all bestsellers. So our books are translated to I think 15 languages, and they did really well, and it became this huge thing. Actually, much bigger than what we were doing when we were in the fashion industry. Suddenly, we could reach so many more people that could know who we were. Yeah. And then we kind of gradually went from doing books into the YouTube universe,
times are changing,
which is where we're now. Yeah, times are changing, and we are changing with times.
You have to be ahead of your time all the time, so you have to be ready for changes.
Yeah, I think that's the most important job as a designer, to always be ahead, always be one step ahead of everyone else.
And you never know, maybe one day we go back to fashion.
You never know.
It can happen, you never know.
So we met, and then we started our business. Next year is going to be our 20th anniversary as Arne and Carlos, the designers, and we've been able to support ourselves for 20 years, doing what we love and always hanging out. So we get to go on trips together, and we get to have a lot of fun together.
About the highlights? What's the highlights of the first years until now?
So in business or
in
other
business.
things? Well, I have to say that a big highlight was obviously the collaboration we did with Rei Kawakubo and Comme des Garçons.
Yeah, that was...
Rei Kawakubo, Comme des Garçons is a cult brand in the world, and it is a very high-end conceptual brand, and it's incredibly expensive. And to be able to work with one of the greatest designers of all time. She's one of the few living designers who has even had an exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. To have been able to work with her, not for her, but with her, to collaborate on a series of products. That's when we created the Christmas ball. That's when we came up with the Christmas ball idea anyway. And to be able to collaborate with a designer of that caliber is a highlight. It's also the biggest disappointment because we only did one collaboration, and that was that, and then she dropped us. So that was sad. But that's the way I guess it is. It's business for her. I think
there was other designers in the same project, and they're also gone. Yeah. So it's not unique.
So that's a big...
But it was a highlight. It was fun. I think it was... That's like something... You never think that would happen.
Yeah.
And after that we had the collaboration with the Urban Outfitters.
That was cool as well.
For Canada and America.
That was fun.
That was fun also. And
I think another highlight was when we were approached. So in 2010 we were approached by the National Museum here in Norway, in Oslo, about an exhibit for 2012 when our 10th anniversary as ARNE CARLOS came.
That was cool.
When that was going to be, they wanted an exhibit, and then they created this really cool exhibit of our work that was in two parts. One part was for museums, and the second part was for schools. And then this exhibition became a portable exhibition that toured the entire country for 3 years.
And
it was amazing.
That was a lot of garments from our collections, but also the knitted Christmas balls and the knitted dolls.
Yeah.
Because we had 2 books out at the time, I think. So that was actually very cool. And then I remember like one year let me see, the 3rd collection we made, we got this prize as like the designers of the year. That was cool.
Very cool, yeah.
Because then we started actually to sell some of the clothes in Norway.
Yeah.
So that was a highlight.
And then in 2010, the Norges Husflidslag, the Norwegian Arts and Crafts Association, they gave Arne and me a gold medal. It's very few people in Norway. You can count them on your hands. Very few people have received that golden medal.
That was cool.
One of the people who you all call the national treasure, Anne Mor Sundbø, has received the same medal. So we are in good company there.
Yeah.
And our gold medal was actually awarded to us during the centenary anniversary or celebrations of Norges Husflidslag. So the 100th anniversary of the Arts and Crafts Association was when we were awarded the medal. It was during a gala dinner, and the high protector of the organization is the Queen of Norway, Queen Sonja of Norway. So we were invited to the gala dinner, and we received the medals. And the Queen was there, and because we were kind of like going to be the recipients, we were able to sit in the table of honor. It was a round table. There were 10 people sitting in that table, Arne and me.
That was so nice. She was
the
so
Queen
nice.
and 7 other people. And we had a wonderful evening together with her. Talked about a lot of things, and she is an amazing person.
I think that was so fun because we talked about gardening.
Yeah, we did.
Because she's very into gardening, and we told her about all the gardens that we saw in England during our trips to England, and then she took out the book and she wrote down the names of the gardens because some of them she hadn't seen. So that was so cool. That was a highlight.
Well, I thought the best part of that evening though was because it was Arne and me, the Queen of Norway, and then 7 other people, very important people in the Arts and Crafts Association. It was the board of directors, I suppose, and very important people anyway. And so what they didn't know, only the Queen knew, and Arne and I knew, was that we had actually met the Queen and the King the week before, because the week before we were awarded the golden medal, the King and the Queen of Norway, they came to our
to this area,
to our region, and because they do these visits all over Norway every year, and we were selected to show our work to the King and the Queen. So we had actually already met her, and we had talked about our work, and she knew everything about us anyway, because she studies and she makes sure. I
even think the publisher, when we had the first books, the publisher sent books to the castle.
Yeah,
both
probably,
to the Queen and the Crown Princess.
Anyway, so when we were gonna sit down, so she was the last person to arrive. Everybody was sitting, waiting for her, and then when her arrival was announced, everybody had to get up, and she walked in, and she was escorted to our table, and she greeted everybody at our table. And then when she came to greet Arne and me, she said, "Oh, Arne Carlos, how nice to see you again." She said something like, she said, "How nice to see you again. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure meeting you," or something like that. And then everybody else was
like, "What?
They know each other. They know each other." So cool. That was quite cool. And then we told everybody, but we'd actually met the King and the Queen the week before because they were visiting our region, and we were selected to.
And she said also, like, if she was ever around in this area, she probably will pop by and look at our garden.
That hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened yet, but she's welcome. And you never know with our Queen, because she can pop up everywhere. Yeah,
she's famous for doing that. So 10 years later, we are still ready to put on a pot of coffee in case the Queen decides that she wants to see our garden.
Yeah, you have to be careful in the garden. It can be slippery.
Do you think I think she'd remember us again if we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she would. So yeah, that
You'll
was
remember her at least. Yeah.
that was a fun thing. How about trips, Arne? Any fun trips that
I
we've
guess
done?
the first one we did to Peru, that was big because I've never been in South America before.
Except no, that's North
No,
America, Mexico. Yeah.
But that was that before.
Yeah, we went to Mexico,
we
but that
went-
was a holiday. Yeah.
That was a holiday, but I've never been to Peru, and that was so amazing seeing that country.
And meeting the artisans who knit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're
I think that was really a highlight for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But then after that, we've been all over the world with our knitting and the books. So like all over America, Canada,
yeah.
Japan, China. We've been in Australia, all over Europe. We've been everywhere.
Yeah, lots of highlights. I remember a particular fashion show that we did in Iceland in 2003. It was some sort of an Icelandic fashion festival of some sort, and they had invited different designers from different Scandinavian countries, and we got invited, and we had 5 designs with us for a runway show, and that was actually location-wise. I can't imagine a cooler place to do a runway show than Thingvellir. Thingvellir is a national park in Iceland. It's not far away from Reykjavik, and in Thingvellir there is a crack that kind of splits.
It's the plates, the European earth
the
plate,
plateaus.
the plateau, and the American one.
They have split the earth in 2, so there's a crack. And you may actually, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you've obviously seen Thingvellir because this crack is featured heavily in the series. And we actually had a fashion show in the middle of the night in July when it's bright all day.
That was so cool.
In the middle of the night, we had a really cool runway show in Thingvellir. And do you remember the music?
Wasn't that like the girl with the drum?
Yeah.
The drum.
It was really cool.
Very strange, but cool.
Very bizarre, but really cool. It was amazing.
That was a very nice trip, actually.
It was our first trip to Iceland.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of really great trips.
We haven't done much in Africa. Nothing actually. We planned a trip to South Africa.
Well, we actually managed to get there.
We managed to get there, and everything was planned, and then the COVID kicked in. So we're gonna go back because that is one of the nicest place also.
Oh yeah,
very
beautiful.
nice place to South Africa.
Yeah.
That was so nice. So we're gonna go back.
And we've done a lot of great stuff in the USA as well. I mean, there's so many highlights there, but when we went to Taos in 2019, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
That was so
beautiful.
Spectacular. I really loved it. And I love, some of the big cities like Seattle and New York and Boston, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles.
It's really interesting to go to
Francisco.
America, I think.
Yeah.
Remember we went to the flea market in Brooklyn? For me, that was a treat. We didn't get anything, but looking at all these people selling like all this stuff, and there was a lot of things from Norway.
Yeah.
There was like postcards from Norway. There was like a lot of figures and stuff, like souvenirs and things I've never seen in Norway.
Yeah.
But they had it, all stuff in Brooklyn. So that was so
That was
cool.
great. And then we did the Inca Trail, Easter
That
2015.
was very, very
with
cool.
some good friends. We walked. We want to do Hadrian's Wall in the UK at some point. We'll see when we start traveling again.
And of course the trips to England and looking at the country houses and the gardens, that is so inspiring.
So you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking if we would retire tomorrow, we're not. If we would retire tomorrow, we'd have all these wonderful memories of all the things we've done. And the cool thing is because we did them together, we can share them with each other. We've experienced the same thing. And I feel very privileged and very fortunate
I think
about
that sometimes, like now, I go through my computer and the telephones and things, and I collect pictures and I make books.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Because we have been so many places, it's almost scary. It's like, you can hardly remember. And especially when you do touring, like we do like book signings or we do speeches and stuff, you hardly remember where you've been because it's like you come to one place in the evening, you do something and you leave the next morning. Or so we've been so many places, and
but we
I
can
want to
talk
buy the globe and put
little
nails
pins,
in it and see where we've been.
But it's fun because we can talk about all these experiences, and then you do your books and you ask me when did, because I'm good with dates and things like that.
I don't remember.
So you ask me and I'll say that was then, and we did this, and then you write it down. But the memories are shared, and we're very lucky that we can experience this together. You know, everything we do together. I think that's wonderful.
And there's so many things.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get through all the stuff in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Or how many minutes?
And then we brought a little special photograph to show you guys, because right now because of COVID in March, we didn't know, nobody knew the situation in March, what was going to happen now. So, you know, in order to be safe and to make sure that nobody was put in unnecessary danger, Rowan decided not to do a photo shoot with models and all of that. And they sent us all the garments and they asked if we could shoot them as a, you know, as a model ourselves. So we modeled our own collection for Rowan. And we're getting a lot of, you know, great feedback. There's this whole, every time we post, because afterwards they did actually shoot with a model when it was safe to do so, because it's a unisex collection. So Rowan wanted to show it what it looks like when we wear it.
And we got the women's outfit.
Yeah.
Because some of the garments were a little bit tight.
They were a little bit tight.
Do our best.
But because we are fashion designers and we worked 10 years before we, or from 8 years before we left the fashion industry, but we kept working with photography for many years with our books. So we know how to do a photo shoot. We know how to style it. So we were able to make the women's garments work on our bodies, even if we were wearing everything 4 sizes too small or even more than that. So try to go back to all the photos that of us. You can check it out on Rowan's website or go to our website. Check out those photos and see if you can see that they are too tight. Maybe a couple you can see more, you know, some more than others. But I think we did a really good job hiding the fact that we were wearing the women's designs because they were small. But yeah, we did the modeling of our garments, and there's this whole, you know, when we post the image of me or you and then the model, there's a lot of people who want to do who wore it best, and we get a lot of points. I don't know why. So, you know, it might be that we are really good models.
That's not fair to the real model.
That's not fair to the real models, but we wanted to.
Thank you.
Thank you. We wanted to show you a photograph of when we actually were real models and when we did a shoot for a fashion magazine. This is shot by a very famous Norwegian photographer, and the photographer, he loved the image of that he took of Arne and me so much that he actually sent it to us for free. So he gifted an image, a print, and this is from a fashion magazine. And yeah, if you want to have a little laugh, because it is a little bit
It's not
funny.
us in a way, because we are wearing someone else's clothes.
Yeah, so
I think you are dressed in...
I'm wearing, I'll tell you in a minute. So anyway, this is us. This is shot in 2006. And I think it's funny. We don't really consider it to be Arne and me. These are just two models, two random people who are modeling some clothes in a fashion magazine, and it's actually it was actually an interview that they did with us,
it was about the crown princess and her design, or the Norwegian designers that she used.
Exactly. So we were there with other designers, and they wanted us, because it was a fashion magazine, they wanted it to style us and to make us amazing.
And you remember why I have my hand in the pocket?
Yeah, I do. But before that, I'll just tell everybody, I'm wearing Vivienne Westwood from top to toe, and Arne is wearing D squared from top to toe, and it's not our clothes. It was.
I like the clothes. I like my outfit.
I love my outfit, but imagine paying for that.
No, that won't happen.
No. So I mean, I think the trousers you were wearing alone were worth like thousands of dollars. But yeah, they brought in the clothes for the shoot, and we were styled by stylists, and we had hairdressers, and I think they even did makeup. You know, to kind of hide our imperfections.
Everything.
Yeah, and yeah, I do remember. Let's show that again. So Arne is wearing his hand inside his pant.
Because it was all wrapped up. Because I had made popcorn and I almost burned the kitchen down. And I burned both of my hands, but this hand had like a 3rd degree or
Yeah, it was really bad.
Really, really bad.
And that was like a month before.
Yeah. So I had to hide my hand because it was wrapped up.
And I remember the magazine and the stylist were very concerned about that because they didn't own the garment. Actually, they borrowed the clothing from a very exclusive store, and they were very concerned that if you got blood on the trousers, they had to buy them. But it wasn't. Careful. But you know what? We didn't choose the clothes, and you know we wanted to be ourselves. They wanted us to be someone else, so we felt
it was fun.
It was fun.
I think another highlight was when we did that video. Remember, we did the fashion. We decided not to do fashion shows anymore, so we did a fashion.
Well, we
show.
didn't do many anyway.
But we did a show on video. It was the animation, and it was like Alice in Wonderland, and it was so avant-garde that hardly no one understood what we were doing. I think that was so cool. That was a highlight, but since nobody understood it, it was kind of a little bit sad also in a way, but I think it was so good.
Yeah, it was fun.
We should see if we can find a link and put that out.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll look.
So you can see how avant-garde we were.
Yeah.
Because I read now that this is kind of the new way of showing collections.
Because of COVID, obviously.
Because of COVID.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the story of how we met. We met through some common
friends. And a
friends.
little bit more.
And we've been together ever since, and we always do everything together, and we're like Siamese twins, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I like it that way.
It's good.
I think you are fantastic.
You too.
I'm glad I met you.
Yeah, same. Thank you.
So
yeah. And now we have 2 poodles.
Yes, and now we have 2 poodles.
And running water.
And running water and electricity and a beautiful home because you know, as times moved on and as we did better and better, we were able to afford to renovate the house.
Yeah.
And now we're renovating the studio. And if we're lucky, we'll be ready before we retire so that we can get some use out of the studio.
Yeah, if not, we have a lot of space for parties.
Yeah. And next year we're celebrating 20 years as Arne and Carlos, the designers, and we've been together for 23 next year. So, I look forward to the next 20 years as Arne and Carlos.
Yeah. And hopefully we remember what happened 40 years ago.
Yeah.
In 20 years. Or that's why I do books.
Yeah. I still rely on my memory, which I almost lost thanks to COVID, but luckily I got it back. So, So anyway, that was the story of how we met. We hope you enjoyed it.
Should we call it a day? Is that what you're trying to say? Are we finished now?
Yeah.
This is more than 10 minutes. But
I think we're up to some 15 plus minutes, and now everybody knows what 15 Norwegian minutes mean. I think we'll call it a day. We've answered the question that a lot of people have asked so many times, and as you see, or as you heard, obviously, it wasn't something we could do in a Q&A because then we wouldn't be able to answer any other questions. When we started doing our videos in 2015 or in the end of 2015, I was maybe less comfortable than Arne doing them, but things have evolved, and the pandemic last year I felt changed a lot, I realized that we have a very important mission to do, and it is to keep people entertained. And make sure that they have, something to look forward to every week, and we get a lot of comments about that. People love our sit in it for a bit. They feel like we're there for them, and we feel the same thing. I mean, we love coming in and talking to the camera because we don't talk to that many people, do we?
No, not really. Yeah. So, thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah. But Carlos, I'm getting warm. I was actually dressed for the garden because I was preparing the garden for winter, and it was kind of windy outside and a little bit chilly. Now the sun has come.
And speaking about eccentric gardeners, you should have seen Arne this morning. He was wearing the sweater. The sweater is from one of our old collections. It's been hand knitted in Peru, but by some artisans, and they actually hand knitted these for sale. That we supplied them to stores. We don't have a pattern for the sweater, but we do have a pattern for a hat. So go to arnecarlos.com and get Reine, the pattern. And but you were looking amazing. You had the matching hat, and you had a tweed blazer on and rubber boots. You look like a very eccentric lord. I love it.
I am an eccentric lord.
I looked out.
Like a fake lord.
Yeah, and I looked out the window, and there's this cute little bird eating fruits from a tree just outside our window, and I saw him there this morning again, and you were there.
Yeah.
Doing
With
gardening
my outfit.
with your very
You
eccentric.
should take a picture next time.
Yeah, well, I did.
Oh.
Yeah, just didn't come out very good, but I did.
But
So
anyway.
yeah, and we've launched the stocking as well. We did that last
we have
week.
the stocking. Was that last week?
Yeah,
So this the Christmas stocking. It's out now.
yeah. So this is the Christmas stocking for 2021. We're calling it EMTU, which means
It's like you have the house home for Christmas.
EMTU means home for Christmas. And soon we're going to be releasing a little Christmas collection with hats, mittens, and more stockings. Among others, the stockings that you guys were seeing last year in our Countdown to Christmas podcast. They were kind of like in the background behind us. They are going to be released in a little, I think, a digital release with Rowan. And they're also going to be available on our website. So keep your eyes peeled. If you're not on the email list, get on the email list or the mailing list, because we will notify everybody when that collection drops. And it's a really cutesy collection, and it's got those 3 stockings and a lot of other fun, festive things to
And I'm
make.
gonna knit it now with our yarn also.
Yeah.
Just to see how it comes out.
Yeah. Well, we've done it already.
But not we felted the one.
Oh yeah. We talked about that last week.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're making another one.
We're making another one. Anyway, formalities.
If you like our videos, put your thumbs up or down if you don't like them, and
Engage, comment,
engage and
subscribe.
subscribe. And if you're a subscriber, put on your notifications.
Yeah.
Because then you won't miss the episode.
That was it for us. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to bringing you a new story next week. Although this was a good story that we saved for a special occasion, which is a cold winter day or autumn day. Next week, we're probably just going to be talking about everything and anything again, as we usually do in a chaotic kind of way, which is actually what we did today, isn't it?
It's kind of
sort of.
chaotic. Because I can't remember what we talked about last time.
No, but
I never remember. I have a short memory, Carlos.
yeah. You know why that is? Because you only focus on the big things, and that's your job.
What did we talk about last time?
I don't remember.
As you see?
You see, I forgot as well. No, but it's because you're focusing on so many important things that you don't have time to remember what happened last week, because you're focusing on the things that we need to know in a year's time, but that we need to know now. So that's why.
That's why.
That's what I think anyway.
That's my excuse.
That's your excuse.
Yeah, but now I have to go out. I'm warm.
Yeah, so am I.
So see you next time.
Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.